Hey everybody, welcome back to the Backs to Bits podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me as always is D-Pad Danny. Danny, how's it going?
Yo, what's up,
Yo,
man? How you doing?
what's up, yo, yo? Oh, sorry.
Oh, dog.
What's going on the dealio, yo? Sorry, that was silly and dumb and yeah, it
Unnecessary.
was very unnecessary. It was very unnecessary. But that's what
Yeah.
happens when you're cooped up in a house for a week. So
It's been about 3 weeks for me now.
Oh, okay. Well, this has just been my first week, and I go back out to work on Monday morning. So, yeehaw.
Mm. I've,
Uh,
I've been working the whole time.
yeah. Well, it's good that you can work from home, Nikki.
Hmm.
I think this is Nikki's second week. I want to say second week. Maybe it's third. I can't remember, but it all blurs together after a while. So,
Yeah, it really like, especially with what's going on now. Like everything's just like what day is it? I don't
hmm
freaking know.
yeah. See, this is what we always ran into when I was unemployed and Nikki would be out of school for summer, and if I wasn't working or didn't have a job or was unemployed or whatever at the time when summer break was, we would lose track of days because it was just us. We had nowhere to
Right.
be, nothing to do. We just had to get the trash out on the right day. It's just like I was like, "What day
Well,
is
that's
this? Is that
important.
trash day? Is today trash day? I don't remember." So, but yeah, everybody's stuck at home. Most of us are all playing Animal Crossing, so it seems like anyway.
Not this guy.
I understand. You should give it a whirl, though. You might actually
I had a
enjoy it.
fleeting thought thinking about it because everyone else has been playing it,
hmm
but you know, I don't know.
The
I think
online's really fun because you can go to other people's islands and trade things with them, and dink
right.
around and stuff like that. Usually, what I do is I hop on Nikki's island and go sell my oranges on her island because I can get more money on her island for oranges than I can on mine. So it's like, yeah, you got to make money to pay Tom Nook, that dirty, dirty. Yeah.
He's a slumlord, man.
Oh yeah, man. I'm already into my third home loan with him, so I'm gonna hate to see how many hours I've put into it this week because it's literally all we've done is that we had the refrigerator repairman come over the other day, and I was like, while he was out there working on the refrigerator, we were taking out cardboard boxes to take to recycling. That's literally the only thing that we've done this week. So,
Nice.
but it is what it is, and everybody wash your hands. Don't touch your face if you got to go out. For crying out
Yeah.
loud, don't touch your face. So
And only go out if you absolutely need to. I
yeah,
mean, don't be a hero.
yeah, nope, nope. We got to go to the store tomorrow, so we'll see what they got at the
Yeah.
store. Probably not much, but
And
but
get stocked up.
yep, absolutely. So, but anyway, we're here to talk about retro gaming, and we got a
Yeah.
pretty good topic tonight. That we should probably spread over more than one show, but we're going to cram it all into one show, kind of go quickly with it. But well, first, before we do anything, we'll talk about any new cool games that we've picked up. Danny, I'm going to let you go first because I really haven't picked up anything. I've just ordered something and it hasn't got here yet. So,
Yeah, sure. I haven't really picked up a whole lot recently either. I feel like there was something else that I did pick up recently that I can't remember.
mm-hmm.
But as far as what I can remember, I actually just got in today a copy of Astro Boy Omega Factor for the Game Boy Advance, which, yeah, I've always heard really good things about it, but I've never played it. It's developed in part by Treasure, and
Mm-hmm.
I like Treasure. They make some really fun games. So I haven't really got a chance to play it too much. I popped it in. I cleaned it really good because it was pretty dirty on the
Yeah.
inside, So I hit it with the Brasso and the.
Not the
I know,
brass.
I know. So I hit it with the Brasso and then cleaned it up real good. The isopropyl,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean it worked fine. It seems pretty fun. A lot of good variety of moves for like it's like a beat 'em up platformer type
Yeah,
game.
yeah. I've played it.
Uh,
I've only played it on my. It's not an EverDrive I have for the GBA. It's some other kind of flash card, but
mhm.
that's the only way I've played. It's really cool. It's a fun game. I like it a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a neat one, and I've wanted it for a while, and I just happened to be, I scrolling through on Facebook as one does,
Yeah,
and yeah, I saw somebody selling a copy, and I'm like, yeah, I will take that. I want that.
yeah.
So I have a copy now. It came in today, and it works. So pretty excited about
Sweet.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I know there's something else physical that I got. I remember trying it out the other day. I remember my son was sitting here watching me, and I was like, "Well, okay, this seems pretty fun, but it works." So let's get back to whatever else we were doing. And for the life of me, I can't remember even what system it was for. But anyway,
that happens.
Yeah, I do want to talk about a game real quick that I got digitally on the Switch that came out this week.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was last week. I don't know. It was one of the ones that came out of the Nintendo Indie Showcase that they did, and that is Skyracket.
Yeah.
And Skyracket is, man, it's a really interesting mesh of games. It's pretty much, it's like it plays like a horizontal scrolling shooter, but at the same time, it also plays like a brick breaker. Like you can reflect, you have a tennis racket and you can reflect back certain enemy shots and keep them bouncing to like destroy certain blocks and enemies and stuff. And that's your primary form of attack. It's really interesting. And it's got a really good sense of humor. It builds up the difficulty pretty well about the second or third level. But I've been playing that a little bit lately, and I've really enjoyed that one. Skyracket, like I said, it just came out. It's by Double Dash Studios.
Yeah, I saw that one caught my eye during the I think it was during the montage of the indie stuff, and that one caught my eye. And then I saw you playing it. I saw you online playing it the other day. I was like, wait a minute, what is that? And
it's fun, man. I like it. I mean, I heard about it. And I'm like, okay, so it's part shooter, part brick breaker. That sounds like it has my name written all over it.
Yeah.
So it hasn't disappointed yet. I think it was either 15 or 25. I want to say
15.
I want to say it was 15, but I would recommend it. D-pad Danny seal of approval. Check out Skyracket if you have a Switch.
Yeah, I added it to my wish list after you said it was really good. So because like I said, it caught my eye in that montage or whatever it was. Anyway, then it said it was available today. I'm like, oh, okay. Because they always, in those Nintendo Direct things, they always, have a, hey, you can get this one right now, So
well, yeah, I mean, they want to leave you with something that you can have, like in the now, like, hey, here's a lot of cool things that are coming up, but we don't want to leave you empty-handed. Here, you can download this today if you want.
Well, that's like yesterday. They had a surprise Direct. They called it a mini. That thing was still a half hour. I was like, that's not a mini. Half hour is not a mini. I mean, but
I liked some of the stuff that came out of it, but we're not really here to talk about
no.
that too much.
But
you said you ordered something.
Yeah, I ordered something. And one of the games that did come off that mini that I did pick up yesterday, I picked up a copy of Panzer Dragoon.
Nice.
I did get the remake of it digitally. Limited Run is actually having physical copies available.
I might go for that.
Yeah, they're doing a long box limited edition one that's in a Saturn long box. It's like $60.
Nice.
But it's actually the past two with Streets of Rage 4, and then this one you can actually order they're not putting a cap on the limited edition or the regular editions, which is kind of nice actually. They don't usually do that, so I was kind of surprised.
That'll allow some retail locations to pick up a couple extra copies so that they can have them in their stores. Yeah, that'll be good, I think.
Yeah, I know a lot of the mom and pop stores. I know Lost Ark in Greensboro. There's a store, Warp Zone in I think it's Warp Zones in Columbus. They do it too. There's a couple of Columbus stores that pick up limited run games too, but I only played the first level. It is exactly like if you've ever played the Panzer Dragoon on Saturn, exactly the same, just with new graphics on top of it.
Nice. It looks pretty nice.
Yeah,
though.
It's very nice. It runs real good. The controls feel a little tighter. And like I said, but boy, there's a lot of people out there that I saw on Twitter this morning went, I bought this game and it only took me an hour to beat. Yes. Because that's
it's a game from like 1996 or something.
What did you expect? This was the way the game was when it came out. It was literally took you an hour and a half to play, and if you played it on easy, you could beat it even quicker than that.
Just be happy that it was a fun experience.
Yeah, really. And it was the kind of game that you play over and over and over again. You don't just play Panzer Dragoon once. You just
and it's not like it was a $60 full price release or anything like that.
It was $25. And the physical's $40. which it's a
I
little,
might go for that. I'm still on the fence, but
yeah.
I'm leaning towards it.
Since
I mean, I've got a couple orders in, but
the only one that I've got in is Streets of Rage 4. But I also have all three Panzer Dragoon games, so it's like, well, I kind of
yeah,
feel like almost tempted to get that long box game, and I still may. I don't know. I'll probably just get the regular, but I don't know if it's worth $60 just to get the long box.
right.
I mean, it's literally the only difference is it's a long box. The switch case fits in the long box, and it has a long uh, manual that fits in this thing.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's worth another $20 or not. Maybe it is. I don't know. We'll see. But
Depends on who you ask.
yeah, it depends on your taste. So well, we'll see. No, the one thing that I did get, I did order a Game Gear console box. Anybody that's been following us for a while, knows my perils of what I've been going through to get a Game Gear with a TV out on it. One minute it's working fine, and then it gets to me and it burns out. I send it back, they fix it, they send it back to me, it burns out again. I think we're on the third burnout. So this time I bought. There's a guy on Twitter called Marcus Mitchum. He's at Marcus9199. He has been making 3D printed consoleization boxes for Game Gear. The popular one, believe it or not, is been Virtual Boy. He can't keep up with the Virtual Boy. He said people are really
Yeah,
buying the Virtual Boy now that they have the chip.
it's interesting
Yeah, now that they have that chip that allows you to mod your
to
Virtual Boy to play it on
consolize it. Yeah,
TV,
right.
so he can consolize it. Stuck in, and now you can choose different palette colors, so it doesn't have to be red. You can be white, it can be blue, it can be
That's pretty
whatever.
cool.
Yeah, so when you're looking at it on your TV, you're not staring at red all the time. Because I would figure that red would probably, on some TVs, might linger a burn in if you're not careful. I would think.
Yeah, I mean, if you were like using a LCD or a projection screen for some
Yeah.
reason,
But so I ordered the Game Gear box from him. It looks fantastic, and it's getting the Cliff is putting the pieces in or the components in it now. But it printed out with a nice little logo, the Game Gear logo with the three little dot colors, and
nice.
literally that thing is. I'm just going to stick my EverDrive in it and stick it in the corner,
Right.
and that's the way it's probably going to be played. Even though I have 50 some Game Gear physical games, most of the time it's probably going to just set. I mean, it looks really really cool. So
Yeah.
I'm anxious to get it. So when it comes, I can take lots
That's
of pictures.
definitely that's definitely something I'd like to look into getting. I look forward to seeing pictures when you get it in.
Yeah, the box was it was a reasonable price. I think it was $60 to get it printed, which I think he said it takes like 12 or 14 hours to actually print out the whole thing. So I mean, at with that kind of length of printing, that seemed like a reasonable price to me. It seems like it's also a higher quality plastic, so it's a little thicker, a little heavier plastic from what I got from him. But yeah, I'm super excited to get it. I can't wait till it finally gets here. So
Awesome.
I'm hoping it won't be long. But
Yeah.
we know the plight with everybody knows my plight with the Game Gear. So
Been an ordeal. The
Yeah.
ongoing saga.
yeah, I was checking dates today, and we've been going back and forth with it it'll be 2 years in May. So it's like it's
insane.
Something's got to give.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about this time. So what is our main topic,
Yeah,
John?
well, I thought maybe our main topic this time. I know retro games have kind of taken off here in the past couple of years,
Absolutely.
and a lot of people who normally, maybe didn't grow up playing retro games, or buy retro games when they were a kid, now have kind of, because a lot of them are the mini consoles that like Nintendo and Sega have put out. A lot of people are nostalgic for
Right.
retro games. So I thought maybe it would be cool to kind of take a look at different ways of not only collecting retro games, or purchasing retro games, but also different ways of getting those games to look their best on whatever TV you have.
Hmm.
Not everybody wants a tube TV. Not everybody can get a PVM. Not everybody,
Right.
and there's all kinds of different things out there, from entry level stuff all the way up to expensive upscalers. So it could be a little daunting if you're not plugged into that community, or anything. So hopefully, if you're watching this and you got a friend who's like, hey, I would like to get into retro gaming, you could pass it on to them
Yep.
and say, hey,
Absolutely.
here's a good place to start. But I kind of broke down what I consider three different kinds of retro gamers. There's your hardcore, your casual, and then there's the guys that just want to play. They don't
Right.
care about anything other than hooking it up to a TV and playing it however they can play it. So like your hardcore collectors are your ones that they want to collect box sets of NES, Super NES, Genesis. They want it all. They want all of them. Price is not an option. They go out of their way. They want to play it on. They don't want to play it on CRTs. They want to play it on LCDs with the most expensive apparatus you could buy out there to make it 1080p and look pixel perfect and everything like that. Your casual collectors are more like, I'd say, more like me and you. We may want to collect, like, you want to do a whole your goal is to get a whole NES collection.
I'd like to get somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not concerned with box copies, or they don't have to be mint pristine, or
No, see, and that's what you have and I agree with these guidelines or general breakdowns of each type of person. But I feel like I don't know, you can kind of spill over into
of
lines
course,
a little bit. I feel like myself, I feel like I'm a little bit. I can see myself a little bit of all of them. I'll buy a crappy copy of something because I want to play it, but I also want to collect it, and I also want to get the most out of what I can get out of. But I want to use a PVM, so it's like. I feel like I'm in there in a little bit of all three of those.
And totally. But it's like me. I buy what I want. I'm not actually out to collect. I don't want to buy all these games for all the Genesis games or all the Saturn games or all the NES games. I don't care if it's a box copy. I don't care if it's got stickers on it. Don't care if the label's torn. As long as it's a reasonable price and it works, or I can get it to work, that's all I care about.
Sure.
Because it's not like I'm going to be a resell. I'm not going to resell it down the road, or I see so many guys who get entire collections of like the NES run, and then they go, well, I've collected all the NES games. I'm going to sell them all, and then I'm going to use the money and buy all the Super NES games. Or I've seen people who have sold their collections 2 or 3 times over. It's like, and just go back.
I've started over before. I can do it again.
It's like
it's more expensive each time.
Yeah, especially as time has went on, and that and I think right now we're kind of seeing prices drop now. I don't know if that's because of the economy. I don't know if that's because collectors are not collecting for this system anymore. They're going to that system. Some games on some systems I've seen take dramatic drops in prices, and a lot of it has to do with reissues or reprints or
EverDrives.
Well, more the mini consoles, I would say, more so than the EverDrive.
Well, sure.
Because then you don't have to spend a big. You can spend $70, $50 to $70, and get a nice collection of games on a mini console that you just plug into your TV and it works. You don't have to overly think. You don't have to have expensive contraptions or go through hoops and ladders or have tons of wires or stuff like that. But I have noticed, especially in the NES realm, it seems like there's some NES games that 2 or 3 years ago were pretty expensive, and some of them have come down. Now, some of those harder ones to find have, of course, went up. But more of your popular titles that were high priced just because they were popular titles have kind of leveled
stuff
off.
Like Super Mario Brothers 2, Mario Brothers 3, Legend of Zelda, Mega Man 2 and 3.
Right.
Those all used to be like $30 plus games.
Yeah.
Which they shouldn't have ever been that expensive, but now you're seeing them for like 15, 20.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's real
Excuse me.
crazy, how some of
Yeah.
the prices have dropped of them. But and then, like I said, there's just the just want to play. The people that use emulation just use the mini consoles,
Yeah.
or they don't care about quality. They don't care about original hardware. Maybe they go out and they buy something that Hyperkin makes of that. It's a Super NES combo that just hooks up USB, and those things are great, especially if you have
Oh yeah, absolutely.
kids that maybe that just want to dabble into it and say, oh, here's 10 games I used to play when I was a kid. Here's
Right.
here's a console. Go have at it, and then you don't have to worry about them tearing it up or something like that.
Yeah, and those people would be more retro enthusiasts than
Yeah.
collectors, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. As far as buying games go, there's a lot of different
So
options
many
out there.
outlets.
Yeah. I mean, around here, I'm not as fortunate enough to have retro gaming stores. There is one here that's not too far up the road. Most of the other ones that we've ever had have all closed up since we've been home. They just, we don't have a huge population, and it's not a huge retro gaming crowd. So, they kind of suffer and don't stay open long. This guy up the road has a huge selection, a nice selection, not a lot of rare gems, and a lot of common stuff. So, he's reasonably priced. But what I find is when I go up there every once in a while, ooh, he's got this, and I'll buy that, and then it'll be a drought of months before there's anything interesting, new stuff that comes in. Most of it's the same stuff over and over again. 75 copies of Super Mario Duck Hunt, and
Right. A handful of Dragon Warriors.
yeah, stuff like that. eBay's another good place to go, especially if you're into imports.
Especially if you can be patient and wait for. I mean, there's plenty of stuff. If you want something, you can find it. Boom, you got it. It's coming towards you. Buy it now, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you have the patience to do the research, look up lots, because I've actually been looking at some NES lots lately, but I'm having trouble finding lots that are worth the money where I don't have more than 2 games in the lot.
Right.
But if you have the patience and the time to wait it out, that's a good way to go, because you can, a lot of people don't want to wait. We're impatient. I want the game. I want it now. I'll send it as fast as you can. And I don't want to wait 3 days for it to end. So, if you get into the auction listings and start watching them, follow them, that's a good way to go too. You can get a good bulk chunk of games to start off with. Right?
Yeah, that's a good way too. One thing you want to be very wary of on eBay is fakes.
Sure.
Especially if it's an expensive title, then the price is really cheap.
Right.
If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Always, like if you're going to buy a mid-range to expensive game, don't buy it unless it has pictures of the board.
Yeah.
And there's lots of resources you can look up online to look up the boards. There's databases available, and just get it verified before you put the money into it.
Yeah.
You won't really run into that starting out though. Naturally,
you're not.
No one's gonna.
Those
no one's gonna fake a Mario 2 or
not usually.
a Ninja Turtles or I mean, what's the point, right?
Yeah. And don't be afraid if it doesn't have a picture of the board.
Ask.
Send a message to the seller and say, hey, I'd like to see the chipset. And the next one I have on the list is Facebook Marketplace. I've
same rules apply.
Yeah, same rules apply. I have seen prices on some games here locally that were too good to be true, and I literally one of them was I can't even remember what it was. I think it was Boink for the NES or something like that. And you might remember
Bonk.
this. Bonk, yeah. I think you remember. Bonk. I think me and you would talk back and forth about this. This was a long time ago, but she had one and wanted a stupid cheap amount for it, and I said, well, is there any way you could open it up and show me the board? She showed me it playing on TV, and then she sent me a picture of the board, and it was opened up in the NES case, but it was clearly a Super NES chip laying there with it, and I'm like, yeah, that's not it. And then I went online, found what the board should look like, sent it to her, and then as soon as I sent it to her, she immediately blocked me, and it was like she knew I'd caught her. So I mean, even local stuff, even when you think, and I'm out in the backwoods in the middle of nowhere, and people pull stuff out of buildings all the time, and attics and stuff like that, and a lot of them don't know what it is, so they just throw it up for
those
a price.
Deals are still out there.
Yeah.
You gotta look, and you gotta be patient to find them.
Sometimes you gotta look, you gotta be patient. Sometimes you may have to travel. You may have to go an hour and a half out of your way to get something. But if the deal
find
is
something
good,
you want.
Yeah.
I mean, like I drove like two or 2.5 hours to get my PVM when I bought that. So I mean, like, if it's worth it, it's worth it. Drive out there if you need to, but always be safe about a drop off location. Always meet in a public location.
Yeah,
be safe. Use your head.
I drove 3 hours to get my first PV. No, I've drove 3 hours to get both my PVMs.
What? Oh, you think you're better than me, John?
Yeah,
3?
Yeah.
Oh, you just had to one up me.
Yeah, 3 hours one way. I drove to Lexington, Kentucky to get one PVM, and then the other PVM I drove to Cincinnati to get, which they were both about 2.5, 3 hours drive. So,
sure.
Probably the farthest I drove for a single game was there was a guy who was selling Ganac.
Ganac, man. I still what did you get that, like $25?
$25 is what I paid for it. I drove 2 hours, picked it up. I held on to it for about a year and really liked it, and then the wife went, I really want to switch. And I was like, well, I don't have $300 for a Switch, but if you're going to play your Switch,
I do have an NES game worth about $180 to $220.
Yeah, I will sell my Ganac and buy you a Switch. So that's what I ended up doing. That's the only game that I've ever bought that was, well, I won't say that I've ever bought that was high end. I did have Buster Douglas Boxing Loose for the Super NES, or no, for the Master System. Sorry, My thing with Facebook Marketplace is I like to find lots. I like to find people selling lots for a reasonable price and it have 2 or 3 games in it that I want. And then I buy that lot and then turn around and keep the games that I want and I sell the other games.
Make your money back.
Yeah, I make my money back. Now, luckily, I have a buddy who wants retro games but doesn't have the time or the willpower to go hunting for them. So usually what I'll do is I'll hunt them down and get what I want out of them and then sell them to him, and I may not make my full money back on it, and I'm fine with that. It's a friend. I don't want to.
It can still, you help a buddy out and you supplement some of the costs so you can keep on doing what you're doing.
I may lose $10 or something like that.
Sure.
$10 or even $20, but I'll gain I'll gain what I need, he gains what he wants, and everybody's happy.
Exactly.
So that's always nice if you have a tag team partner that you can go in with. It was like you with that lot that I found, was it last year, that had Bucky O'Hare in it. I think I paid $75 for the whole lot.
Yeah.
And you paid like $15 for the Bucky O'Hare.
15. Yep.
I sold the rest of the games for $50. That I only kept, I think, 2 or 3 games out of it. So,
yeah, and they're commons, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and they were all commons. It was just ones that I hadn't seen in a while. So it's like, I'll keep them. And it all worked out. That's a nice way to do it too. Or just a lot of times you can just go on eBay. There's been times that I've bought lots of Genesis systems with 32Xs, get them home. The Genesis works, the 32X don't. I'll keep the 32X that's broken until I get 2 or 3 other ones, throw them on eBay for $75. Somebody always buys them and takes them and fixes them up. I sold 2 32Xs for $50, sent them to England. That cost me $40 to ship them to him. And that's what he paid. He paid $90 for 2 broken 32Xs, and he was going to fix them up and sell them. So you get guys like that that'll take.
There you go.
You can always find them, but it does take a lot of work. a little work. I won't even say a lot of work. It takes a
Well,
little bit
sure.
of work.
But but like you're saying, it does hurt to network and have some collecting buddies that maybe collect different things than you,
Right.
so you can both mutually benefit from stuff like that.
Yeah, bounce things off. Facebook groups are another great, not only a great place to buy games, but a great place to move games because there's always people on there looking to buy and sell
Absolutely.
and trade and everything like that. And most of them are really, really, really good. They patrol them really well, so they don't have a lot of riffraff. They don't have people that rip you off.
Right.
Like
the ones I'm in, most of them anyway. If anyone posts anything like non-kosher or whatever, it's usually gone within a matter of minutes.
Oh yeah. They're usually real good about it. Craigslist, Let Go, OfferUp, those are still good places to go. And a lot of that depends on the area that you're in. Our Craigslist and stuff is not. There's nothing there. Not video.
Well, that's where I got my PVM from. Was from Craigslist. I got up with the guy there.
Yeah. See, I got both my PVMs from Craigslist, but I had to go to other Craigslist cities. I had to span out, 200 miles away to, get things because, around here PVMs are, well, I'll say PVMs are almost non-existent. There is a guy down the street here that he has a warehouse full of medical equipment and has several PVMs in them.
Right.
I just happened to be driving by one day and he had it setting out in the parking lot while he was moving stuff around, and I was talking to him. He wants way too much for him. He wants like $300 or $400 for him because he knows that people like us want them, but I won't.
Oh yeah, I mean I got mine for $200, and I don't think I would have paid any more than that. I mean, now the prices are going up for those.
Yeah.
It's like I've seen ones the size, like I have a 19-inch medical monitor, and I've seen these going for like $350 to $450 on the low end lately, and it's insane. Because I was thinking about getting another one, like a smaller one, just to have one, in case for portability if I've traveled, whatever. I'd like maybe something like a 14-inch, something small.
Yeah, I have one of 14-inch. It's great. It's perfect.
Right. But like with the prices that they're at right now, like I don't see that happening anytime soon because they're just going up. Like it's crazy, but it directly correlates to more people getting into collecting, more people gaining an interest in playing it on the best resolution retro TV that they can, and that's understandable. It's an ebb and flow like everything else.
Oh yeah. Well, that's I think I paid for my first one, my 14-inch Sony one, which I got it from Kentucky Public Television. They were clearing out their old monitors. I think I paid $120, I believe, but it has 800 lines of resolution. I mean, I think this is a 20. Yeah, this is a 20-inch Trinitron PVM. This thing is humongous, weighs a freaking ton, and I think I paid $60 for it.
Oh wow!
And it came from University of Cincinnati. This guy bought. He went to an auction and he bought a whole lot. He bought a lot of them. There was he had 15. And he sold them all, and he sold me this one dirt cheap. He sold them all for like $100 a piece. He gave me this one for $65 since we came so far, and it has a little bit of damage, plastic damage on the side of it, but nothing.
Yeah, my PVM's a little bit beat up. It's got some stickers and stuff on it from wherever it was used for before. The guy had a couple of them that he had gotten. I don't remember where he said he had gotten them from, but like I said, it was just some guy on Craigslist that had a couple of them, and I was going to get the smaller one. I think I think the other one was like a 14-inch, but it was S-video only, and he was going to let me have that one for under $100. I remember he was going to let me have it for like $70, I think, which is a good deal. But he also had the bigger ones, and I was like, well, I don't want to have to buy this now and then upgrade to one that has RGB later, and spend that extra money or whatever. So I was like, what's your bottom dollar on those? I can meet you. I'll drive. You don't have to, whatever. I'll meet you wherever. and we were able to make a deal for 200 for this one, and it's a great monitor. I love it, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having another small one just to have,
Yeah,
like I said.
my little 14-inch, I like it because the picture, and it's where it's so small, and it has such a high lines of resolution that the picture
Hmm.
quality is just so crisp and clear. It's
Right.
unbelievable. My only gripe is it has a little one mono speaker about this big, so you have to hook up
Yeah,
mono
mine's the same.
speakers.
I think
So
most of them are like that, right?
this
Because they
one,
have the pop in, pop out kind of.
This one back here doesn't have my big 20-inch Sony one. It has no speakers whatsoever. It
Yeah.
also does not have BNC plugs. It
Mm.
has a 24-pin connector. So I have a special 24-pin to BNC adapter that plugs in the back of it. It does have S-Video. It has no speakers whatsoever. Those had a specific speaker that hung on the side of them, and the speakers are more expensive than the PVMs are because they're so
Oh,
hard to
wow.
find. Because these were the
Sure.
big square ones that you always see stacked on top of each other and things.
Yeah.
So they never had the speakers on them. They were just simply monitors, and people had headphones plugged into them, watching
Right.
all the cameras on like news reports and
Right,
stuff
that's what I'm
like
saying. That's why they always have like little hooks in the bottom
Yep.
part because they just slid in and out of the chassis. Yeah.
that. Yeah, this one's got little dials on the bottom of it, little sinkers on the bottom of it that like little clamps can go onto. If I had the clamps,
Nice.
which I need to kind of do something because I've changed my setup with those and put them on rolling carts, and I'd like to make it a little more secure than what it is, because I mean it weighs 200 and some pounds, and that may be a
Yeah, they're not light.
thing may be a 25-inch. I don't remember. I'd have to spin
Yeah.
it around and look them all. It's heavy though. When I was picking it up the other day, I was like, "Good lord." Worse than picking up a kid. But the other thing is yard sales and thrift stores are a good place to hit things up. A lot of times
Yeah,
you
flea
just stumble
markets as
on
well.
flea markets. Yeah, they can stumble onto it. When I first started collecting, it was in the late '90s. I was single. I had a good paying job. I didn't have bills, and video games were cheap. And I mean cheap. Like
Dirt cheap.
I bought a box copy of Super Punch Out for the Super NES for $8.
Yeah.
I bought a copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga for $50. I mean, it was
The Wild West, man.
it was the Wild West
Collecting
days.
wasn't really a thing yet.
And collecting wasn't a thing yet. And looking back at it, I really wished I'd just bought everything that I'd seen instead of being
Well, don't we all? I mean,
yeah, instead of being picky and going, well, I really don't know anything about this game. I only want this.
buy the
game.
weird games.
Yeah.
Go back and buy the weird games.
Yeah, yeah. And,
Those are the ones that go for the big bucks.
and I've said it on this show before. I remember walking into a Magic Mart. It was a department store they had in the southern part of West Virginia. Walking in, this was 1998, 99. Literally walking in, and they had the old Nintendo glass case with the holes in it, from top to bottom, with sealed copies of every black box, every game you could think of, and they were all $20 a pop. And I just went, meh. It's like, yeah, I should not.
That's
have
too much.
Yeah.
But now it's like, man, I'd kill for deals.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. But,
Metaphorically speaking.
yeah, metaphorically speaking, I would never really kill anybody for
Right.
anything. But so we've kind of talked about a little bit about PVMs,
Right.
So
that kind of segued a little bit, spilled over
into the video quality part. Now this
Right.
this is where things could get really, really crazy and really, really expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Almost
Boy,
more
howdy.
so than games. The video quality side, I put really, I guess you'd count PVMs as 4. I really put 3 things down. The cheapest, the RetroTink 2X Classic. Those run about $90. The Pros are $130. Super affordable, I think. You can use them pretty much on any console with no modding necessary because it takes composite, component, S-Video.
It's great if you want to use like a HD capture card, like an Elgato, but still get a good picture out of your retro consoles.
Because literally all it's doing is taking a 240p signal and doubling it to a 480p.
Yep.
So it's not complicated. It's still going to be a little blurry on your screen. It's not going to be crystal clear, 1080p perfection.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, for what that thing does, it looks really, really, really good. The Pro version I kind of like a little better because it has upgradable software to it. They've already done 2 firmware updates on it. The first firmware update they did actually sharpened the pixels, so it looks even better.
Nice.
One of the things that I didn't really put in here that I use with my RetroTink 2X is the M Classic. I don't much use it for 8-bit or 16-bit games. What the M Classic is, it's pretty much a graphics converter or upscaler that you just plug into a USB port.
Right.
And then you plug it into into your system, out into the TV, and you could boost the resolution up to 1440p depending on what you put into it. So
I feel like you talked about this one last episode or the episode before.
I probably did because I got one in for review about a month ago. And what's nice about it is if if you're using the RetroTink, so it's 480p coming into the coming out of the system, so it's going through the M Classic, which will upscale it to 1080p to the TV. The only problem is it does a smoothing feature, so it will take all those pixels and make them smooth, which I really don't like that. I wish it had a bypass that would just upscale the picture, leave the pixels alone, and not do the process. Yeah, just keep the pixels crispy and not do the processing. I will say, on the other hand, with the RetroTink and the Marseille, or the M Classic, it really does a wonder for PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, Saturn, PlayStation
early
3.
3D consoles and stuff.
PlayStation 3, it does an amazing job on, because a lot of those games on the PlayStation 3 were 720p, were not quite as crisp as 1080p, and this will actually upscale it to 4K and smooth out all the edges and make it look really good. The one thing that I found with the GameCube, you can use the M Classic or the RetroTink or the other 2 things we're going to talk about with the GameCube, but you can only use them with S-Video or composite, so you're not going to get that great of a picture out of it. But if you get like a Carby, for instance, $75 gives you HDMI through the digital port without modification to the console. So you can use your games that support progressive scan and make them look better. You add an M Classic to that, you upscale them to 1080p with more smoothing, make them look even better. So there's all kinds of different ways. The M Classic's $100, so you look at it that way, you get like a RetroTink 2X or a Pro, and you add another $100 to it, so now you're talking $230 or $180. So there you go. Now you could go up to the next thing, which is OSSC, which is an open source scan converter. They run anywhere from $150 to $200. They're FGPA-based technology. They will accept SCART VGA component. Now, they will not work with like a N64 or a non-RGB bauded NES, of course, because they don't take composite. They don't take S-Video. So you have to have another adapter to use, like a GameCube, NES, or an N64, or some system that doesn't have the ability to do RGB with either component or SCART. Which most of your Genesis consoles, most of your Super NES, Genesis, things like that, they are naturally SCART. They always were. It was just, for those who don't know, SCART is
it's not a popular format here.
Not here. It is in Europe and England. That's where it originated from. That's the purest way to get a 240p signal out of your system without any modification whatsoever. And that's what a lot of people do with their PVMs. That's what I did with my PVM. They, you can buy BNC to SCART adapters that will allow you to plug the SCART cable in and then go BNC into the PVM, and then you'll get a pure 240p signal without having to put a mod chip in there or anything like that. Now, you can mod your systems to make them look better.
Sure. There are a lot of options out there for various systems to get better stuff out of it.
And I didn't even go into modding because that's a
whole
other can of worms that you can get into a lot of money with that. And the only thing I will say about modding is if you can afford to do it, get you
Why not?
a top loader, NES, and get that thing RGB modded. That thing looks, mwah, it looks beautiful.
I'll pull the trigger one day. For now, I'm still using the toaster.
Hey, you know what?
The front loader.
And that looks good with S Video. Just upscaling that with S Video looks good.
That's how I run it on mine.
Yeah, I mean, and even that looks good, and throw that in with a retro tank.
That's exactly how I have mine set through, routed through the PM to the retro tank, upscaled to the HDMI.
So there you go with the OSSC. You're talking $200, but then if you want S Video and composite, you'll have to get a retro tank. At least a classic, so that's another $90. So now you're up to the $300 mark.
Right.
That would lead you into something like the FrameMeister. Now, the FrameMeister, believe it or not, I actually checked the FrameMeister website last night. They actually still have these available direct from the manufacturer.
Oh, see, I was about to say, like, virtually unavailable at this point, I would imagine. But that's crazy that they still have them.
They still
have
them.
Like they've been low on stock for, like, years. So how do they still...
They're limited them to 1 or 2 per customer, I think. And
if you can afford more than 2 of them, Dan.
Well, they're $375 is how much they are directly from them. If you go on eBay, they're anywhere from $500 to $1,000, and there was only I looked last night. There was only 6 auctions selling FrameMeisters. So I mean, they are getting hard to find, and I know the FrameMeister people said eventually when the stock runs out, it's just out. It's gone forever. They're never going to make them anymore.
Because it was like a chip shortage, or they could only get a certain amount of one of the specific parts, right?
Right, yeah, something
That's
like that.
That's what caused the whole shortage to begin with.
Yeah. So the FrameMeister, it has composite, S-Video, SCART, and VGA. You can add a D-terminal plug that will give you component as well. So you got covered all the bases. And with it and the OSSC, you could get very technical with how you want your games to look.
Right.
Profiles. There's a whole group, a Facebook group out there that you could join just on settings of these things. If you want pixel perfect 1080p looks at, and you know what, if you got the money to do it, I say go for the FrameMeister. I personally just do not, will not, and my wife would divorce me if I spent $375 at a minimum on a box like that
to play games that you can already play.
And that's why when the retro tank came around, I jumped on it immediately. When the pro version came out, I bought it the day it was available. I was like,
I'm happy with mine. That was definitely a good investment. And it's worth noting that these devices that we've talked about are primarily made to use for like modern television sets.
LCDs.
Now, again, I use the RetroTink with my PVM for capture purposes. If you have a PVM, you can still route the signal because most PVMs have the video and audio in and out.
Well,
so you can route the signal through it and then out to the RetroTink to your capture card, and that's how I use it personally.
I will preference that by saying it will work that way with S Video.
Right.
It will not work that way with RGB. Because you get into it not with all PVMs, because you get into a sync issue.
Well, sure.
And that's a whole nother thing too with sync with PVMs. Like I bought the original reason why I brought the RetroTink was not to play on the LCD, but was to do exactly what you were doing. My problem is I was coming in RGB SCART to the PVM, and then trying to come out component to the RetroTink. The problem was the PVM did not have C-Sync. I think it was C. It was either C or Y. Me and Mike G went back and forth on text, and we finally figured out that it was one of the syncs. I don't remember which.
Sure.
So it would not give me a picture on the capture card. Right, because the C-Sync was not there. So, well, it's trial and error with every PVM is a little different.
Sure.
Too, so.
But also, I mean, typically if you're going in with the same type of input that you're going to be coming out with it. Like I do S video in, S video out,
Right.
right? Or well, one exception is with my with the this kind of segues into our next topic about the cables. You know, a lot of the signal can vary based off of the cables you have, and I have the HD Retrovision cables for my Wii as well as my PS2. I figured that was the most bang for my buck, because without having to switch cables around, that gives me PS1, PS2, GameCube, and Wii in component. So I do also have that routed in and out to the RetroTink. And what I like about that is I can have both plugged in at the same time. I don't need to unplug the component to plug in the S video for everything else, and vice versa.
Yeah. See, even with my PVM, my 14-inch PVM, it would it's stripped the monitor. The PVM actually stripped the sync on the output. So so it would not, even with the HD Retrovision cables instead of SCART, it still wouldn't do it, because I needed something to go in between to do the sync, because then it would just be it would not do the sync. So it varies from PVM to PVM, unfortunately.
Sure, yeah. I mean, different manufacturers, different voltage and all that other stuff. There's a million different things that could be different.
Even Sony, there's so much difference between some of their PVMs with the sync. Like this bigger one doesn't have sync on it at all. It has it built in, so it doesn't matter. I could throw whatever I want at it, no big deal. That 14-inch one, it's got to be sync. If the sync's not right coming out, you'll never get a picture on there. It'll just be either a double picture or a rambling picture or a jumping picture or whatever. So that's always in the back of my head, because now I don't have it hooked up all the time. So it's like, okay, I got to remember this is, I need to write this stuff down. And one more thing before we go on to the cables too, was just consumer CRT TVs.
I mean, you can't go wrong with a cheapo TV from Goodwill.
A lot of times you can find them for free. If you go on Facebook or Craigslist, a lot of times you'll find people giving these things away. What's funny is I have one consumer grade CRT. It's a Sony Trinitron. I don't remember the model number of it, but it has composite, S-video, and component. But it's not a high def tube TV, but it does have component.
Concave, or
just got your curved screen or
convex.
No, wait, it's a flat screen. I think it's flat.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's flat. You know what? It's been a while since I looked at it. It's sitting in the back over here. I don't use it very much because it's huge. It was my mother-in-law's, and she was just like, throw it away. And I started to pick it up to throw it away, and when I lifted it up and I saw it had component on the back of it, I'm like, well, no, I'm going to keep this, because you don't see, non-HD tube TVs with component on the back of it.
Right.
Well, come to find out, I was talking to my wife's uncle, and that TV was $2,000 when it came out at the time.
Oof.
I was like,
the cream of the crop.
Yeah,
the peak of technological advance at the time.
Yeah, it's like the highest rated non-HD tube TV you could buy.
That's crazy.
So, and it's a 37 or a 40-inch. It is a beast.
Oh wow, yeah, I'll bet.
It sets in the floor, and I've kept on to it. And the trouble is I can't find anything to set it on. They don't make those big, they don't make those big TV stands anymore that hold.
Right. Anything more than about 150 pounds, it's going to be hard nowadays to find a stand that will work for it without going to like an antique store and finding something there. Because like even the one that I have, it's bowed a little bit in the middle, and my PVM weighs about, I think the list weight on it is about 110. And then of course I got like a receiver on top of it, on the side and stuff. So I probably got about 130 pounds on there at most.
I had a coffee table with my big 20 or 25 inch, whatever size this is. I don't even remember anymore. My big one anyway. Sure. The other ones you set right here next to me. The 14-inch weighed about 60 pounds. It was perfect.
Right.
It was small.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It could sit on anything. I actually have went with the steel shelving, the wire shelving that you put together, and I actually put wheels on the bottom of them. So then I've got one for my 14-inch with stuff in it, and then I've got another one with this big behemoth on it, and it bows. These
Oh
each,
yeah, I'm sure.
each of these shelves are supposed to hold 360 pounds of weight, and it bows with my
Evenly
yeah.
distributed
Oh,
though.
and
I
it's
mean, this is like a chunk right here.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
This is a chunk, and it's like it's holding up good. I like it because I can wheel it in, wheel it out. I don't have it sitting high off the ground, but it makes the PVM a little more convenient because it doesn't take up a crap ton of space without a coffee table
right. You
anymore. So.
can wheel it in and wheel it out
Yep.
at your
I can
leisure. I
wheel it
mean,
around and everything
yeah.
like that. So we were talking about HD Retrovision cables. They're component cables. They make ones for the Genesis Model 2 and the Super NES and the
Hmm.
Wii. If you want one for the Model 1 Genesis, there's a adapter you buy. They used to have the what's the Neo Geo, the AES, I think it is.
Hmm.
They used to have one for it. It has been discontinued now, and it is very expensive online.
Well, they have the PS2/PS1 one as well.
Yep, they
That's
have
I
a
have that.
PS. That's the one I have. I have the PS2,
Yeah.
PS1 one, and they also make a Saturn one.
Mm.
The PS2 and the Saturn one will connect to the Genesis Model 2 cable to make it, um, you know,
Compatible.
compatible. Yeah. So I have two sets of cables. I've got the Genesis and I've got the Super NES one, and that literally covers me for every system except.
It's like N64, wasn't it?
Well, it was N64, but I got my N64 RGB modded, so now it
Oh, right,
works with
right, right.
that. Maybe that's everything now,
Hmm.
because it works. I've got an adapter with my TurboGrafx 16 PC engine that plugs in the back that gives it RGB out to a Genesis Model 2 cable, so that
Hmm.
works. Super
What
NES.
about? Well, I mean, stuff like Master System. Is
Yeah.
that one?
Yep, it works. That's a Genesis
Wow.
Model 1 cable. So,
Is it really?
yep, it's the
Well, I
exact
know that the
same.
controllers and everything else are pretty compatible,
Yeah,
so I wasn't.
yep. It's just the old big style for the Model 1. So it works with the Master System as well. I think that's the only
Nice.
one it doesn't work with is my Super NES Junior, because they do
Oh,
not
that's
have.
that's a different animal altogether. That's a weird console in its own right.
Yeah, so you have to actually get it modded for it to work with it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that's it now. I think I've finally
Hmm.
got all of them. Just glancing back, all the ones that I own. So I have it
I
all
need to get
down
the
to.
Genesis one, but man, that's it's like I was able to get the one for the Wii and the one for the PS2 for like under $30 a piece. I think one of them was like 18 and one of them was like 27.
Yeah,
If you look, the Genesis one is like $90.
yeah. There's if you buy them directly from them or Castlevania Games, they're $65 plus, and usually you get free shipping with those.
Yeah.
Super NES is the same way. It's $65 cable because I paid $130 for both of them, and then together, and then I got the two adapters, and I think they were $10 a piece for the adapters or something like that. I just
Probably. I mean, maybe the prices have gone up because of the adapters. Because I checked on Castlemania and I went to Amazon because on the site they don't sell them directly from the site anymore. There's just
no,
here's our distributors,
yeah.
and so I went to a couple of them, and it seemed like $90 was the average. So it might have been something that has just gone up since you bought yours
Let me
because maybe
see.
there's more of an interest, or
I can see
like I
here.
said, maybe with the adapters you
Let me see.
can, you know,
HD
I
Retrovision.
don't know. Or
I'm gonna.
that I mean,
I want to check.
no, yeah,
this.
yeah, go for
I
it.
wanna,
Fact check me, please. But like, because if they've gone down, then that's great. But like, that's one of the big things. That's why I didn't get it because I was like, my
60
Genesis.
62.99. That's how much they are. Yeah, they were 65 when I bought them. So
Okay,
yeah,
well, yeah, I might have to look into that again because I mean, I don't know what it is, but Genesis Capture just looks like garbage.
yeah.
It's terrible. The colors are off. The it's fuzzy. It's the like watered out.
Mhm.
It looks bad.
Yeah.
I'd love to upgrade that.
Now, see, they sell the combo with the HD Retrovision Genesis Model 2 component cable with PS1 adapter for $76.50.
Hmm.
There's the Genesis Model 2 with the Model 1 adapter. It's $71.79. But the adapters are $10.99 a piece,
Yeah.
and like I said, the cables are $62.99. One thing that I highly recommend with the HD Retrovision cables, if you're going to run them, I run them through a switch.
Yeah.
There was a specific switch that the HD Retrovision guys recommended that would not cause it to the signal to be downgraded or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
because you kind of want it all to be on the same ohm level if you can get it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say they were like 75 ohms or something like that as the cables. So I
See,
got,
once you start getting into that kind of
yeah,
technicality,
I
I'm
mean,
like, I gotta.
yeah, because what you could do is you could buy a cheap component cable or component switcher, plug your HD Retrovision cables into it, and then have cheap component cables coming out, and it will actually knock that picture down because you're using
Sure.
different kind of cables. Luckily, HD Retrovision makes just male to male 6 foot
Mm-hmm.
component cables for $20. So
Right.
literally, that's what I did. I got the box they recommended, went with the HD Retrovision male to male cables on top of it. So everything is Retrovision cables,
Yeah.
and I only have two cables for what, 7 systems, 9 systems, whatever. I don't even know. Genesis, NES. I've got an NES modded, so Super NES,
Many
N64.
systems.
So 7 or 8 systems, all with two
Yeah.
cables, which I have seen some pictures where people keep all their systems hooked up, and they have HD Retrovision for each one of their systems. One for the NES, one for the Super
Yeah.
NES. Nah, I don't want all that cable management. I can't do it.
Sure.
It kills me.
Well, see, I keep all my stuff set up constantly. So for me, I would want to get a cable for each one, but cost permitting, because
Yeah.
I want to get the Genesis one for sure. I feel like the rest of them I can maybe, give or take, because at this point, I think my Switch only has 2 component inputs. So if I get the HD Retrovision cables for any of my other consoles, I'm going to have to start thinking about upgrading my Switch.
Right.
So
Mine is
that's a whole another thing altogether.
Yeah, mine is a 3, and the only reason I have it as 3 is because I know they're going to bring out those Dreamcast HDA Retrovision cables at some point.
Right.
And then I have the Microsoft for Xbox, the original OG Xbox. I have that component box too, so I run them directly into that. Which we're sitting here talking about component cables. Some of your modern retro TV or modern LCD TVs still have component in it. The only thing that you have to pay attention to is if your TV will accept a 240p signal.
Right.
I have a 16-year-old Samsung LCD that has component. I plug it in. It does not accept 240p signals, so they would not work directly on my TV. Now, you throw in a RetroTink 2X, then they would work. Because
Absolutely.
you're popping that one up to 480. I have component on this 4K TV back here. Never even tried to plug them in. It's like, nope, not even going to worry about it. I got a RetroTink. We're not.
That's what I'm saying. It simplifies that part so much to where, because HDMI is universal now. Plug it in, ready to roll.
So I highly, highly, highly recommend the HD Retrovision cables if you're going to use the RetroTink. That is going to be the best way to get 240p out of a non-modded system into your TV at 480p with the RetroTink. It'll look beautiful, especially on capture and stuff. SCART cables are another thing. All I'll say with SCART cables is if you go the SCART cable route and on your PVM with the BNC cable, there's only one or two people that I know of that make SCART to BNC cable adapters. One of them's on eBay. It's Chewbacca something or another. I'd have to look up their name that I bought directly from. And then there's one overseas in Europe that does it, or England that does it. They get a little pricey because you got to pay import tax and the shipping.
Right.
Where the other guy on eBay is in Florida. What's really cool about him is you could contact him directly. I needed that 24-pin one. I needed a very specific one for that TV that he wasn't selling on eBay. Contacted him on eBay. He actually made me one and sent it to me for the price that the regular BNC cables were.
Very cool.
So yeah, and most people in the community is really nice and will help you out.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of good places you can go. Nintendo Age used to be a great one for getting into it. There was some people that, like we talked about before, I think in the last episode, where sometimes when you get deep into the collecting, not underbelly or underworld, it makes it sound seedy, but once you get But you know what I mean? Once you
Right.
get deep into it, like there are some people that look down on new people getting into the hobby and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know, Nintendo Age, I think by and large, was a good place for that. It got bought out, and a lot of the people have since moved over to Video Game Sage.
Yep.
So I would suggest if you're new to collecting and you want a good forum to go to learn about stuff, to buy and sell and all that type of thing, videogamesage.com is a good resource to go to for that. And again, like we talked about, there's so many I mean, just do a Facebook group search for video game or Nintendo or retro, and you'll find dozens and dozens.
Well, and really, when it comes to the technical aspect of how can I connect this console to my television, Retro RGB is the best website to go to, because they go from all the way to how to do a composite to how to do it with FrameMeisters, and it's step by step. They got videos, they got pictures. It's a wealth of information that will overwhelm you when you start digging into it. But as far as SCART cables go, not all SCART cables are created equal. Some are cheaper than others, and you will get noise. I have some from Console 5 that they sell repair parts for systems. They were about $9 a piece. Some systems, they work great. Like some on one PVM they work great. On another PVM they'll be kind of noisy. There's one that I got just as a try from Insurrection.com, the guys in Raleigh that make the Carby. They sell high quality SCART cables with gold plating. Them things are the HD Retrovision of SCART cables. They're about $20 to $25 a piece. It was, my Genesis cable got so bad when I was using SCART that I couldn't take it anymore. So I bought one of those, and I bought one for the Model 1 that has the headset cable that comes out, so I can plug it into the front of the Genesis and get stereo sound through the SCART cable instead of just mono. That thing was super high quality. Immediately I saw better picture quality. Of course, 2 months later I ended up buying a RetroTink when they came out, and so I hardly got to use that SCART cable because I kind of have moved more towards the LCD side, even though I still play on my PVMs. But when I just come downstairs and sit down real quick and I just want something quick and easy, that's what I play on.
Oh, absolutely.
The other games, or if you want to try out games, you can do that with emulation too. A lot of people use RetroPies and stuff like that. I have a RetroPie. I have it loaded up with NES and Genesis ROMs on it. I never play that for every system. I use my EverDrives more than I use my regular cartridges. The only reason I do that is just for convenience of not having to pull in, pull out, go up, stand up, take this out of the case, bring it over here.
And it's good for the life of the console as well. You know, you're not constantly in and out.
Yeah.
You know,
but you've never been able to play in English in America. You can play them.
Sure.
It's a good way to peruse, and then I know a lot of speedrunners use them because a lot of them have save states. So a lot of the speedrunners like that over original cartridges or emulation.
And again, it's a hefty-ish upfront cost. You know, most of them you're looking at between $80 and $150. But I mean, when you consider you're spending that much for essentially the entire library of any given console, it's really not a bad way to go if, again, you're just somebody who wants to play the games, but you want all the games at your disposal.
Right, yeah. You know, and crits, you buy them directly from crits. You can get some that are Chinese made that are still crits, but they're like an older version of the crits EverDrives. So, he just brought out a new Game Gear X7 that added, save states and things like that. I think I paid $80 for mine. This new one's $100, and I think it's like $140, $130, something like that. It's not not a big enough upgrade for me to want to buy it. You know?
Yeah, I just got the EverDrive N8 for the NES not long ago, and I think after tax and shipping, that one was probably about $120, $130.
Yeah,
I didn't get the Plus though. The Plus is like $30 more for, I think, save states and a more robust menu. And I'm like, I don't care about save states. I'm only buying it for hacks and homebrews anyway.
Mine has save states on it, and mine's not the Pro.
Yeah. Well, then maybe mine does. I don't really save state's not really something I mess with, so it's
Yeah.
possible I just didn't even notice it in the menu or
Yeah,
whatever.
there's a new one out that has that. There's still a few games that don't work on it because
Yeah.
but for the most part, everything does, and like even the crits that one, just to have all the
Yeah.
Turbo PC Engine games on there, it's just so much not hassle to do that. So that's another way. But those are a large
Oh, yeah.
upfront cost, but in the long run, they may be worth it for you because you don't want to mess with having a big robust collection, but you still want to play on original hardware. That's the
Right.
nice thing. You can still,
That's the key.
yeah, you can
No
still play.
input delay or anything like that you get with or whatever. Which, if you want to emulate too, that is the cheapest way to do it. It's like we've said multiple times, we're not going to be snooty and judge anyone for doing it their way, as long as you're enjoying the games, that's please enjoy the games with us. It's not us being the collectors up here and you being starters down there. It's we all want to enjoy this mutual interest together. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's what I love about the EverDrives is there's I'll play a game on it and go, man, I really like that game. Let me go see how much it is. Oh, that game's like $200. Well, I don't like it that much, but but there's been several games that I'd never played, especially NES wise, that I had never played, and I'll still play it on the EverDrive, but I'll have a real card over here, and I'll feel better about having
because it's
ROMs
nice
on
to
my
own it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically,
technically,
I'm only supposed to have ROMs of games I own. I'm not supposed to have the entire, the entire.
Yeah.
Collection.
Well,
but it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
So. But hopefully, it is an expensive hobby to get into, especially depending on which way you want to go with it. There's cheap ways, or there's expensive ways.
Right. It'll provide as deep of a rabbit hole as you want it to.
Yep.
So there's always going to be something better that you can strive towards. And it's just how much do you want to put in? And at what point do you say, you know what, this is good enough. I like the way this is, it's, yeah.
And a lot of pricey. And a lot of people that have Xboxes or Xbox Ones or PlayStation 4s, you can go out and you can buy the Genesis collection for
absolutely.
for $20-$30 and get a great way to play those games too. If you own a PlayStation,
and a lot of I'm sorry, and a lot of those old games are honestly for free on mobile as well. You got like Sonic 1 and 2, I think what is it? Phantasy Star 2. Yeah, I mean, you got those on there for free. So, I mean, there are ways, even direct from the publisher, still to get these games as well for cheap.
And if you have a Switch and you pay for online, you get NES and Super NES games there for free. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to get into, just on a basic level, and not have to spend a ton of money. Or you can go whole hog and, go crazy.
Exactly. It depends on your interest level, and, there's something for you here, I promise.
I mean, I have seen people online, I got this game today, I got that game today, I got this one, I got that one, and and I look at my wife and I go, man, how are they, buying all these games, 7 or 8, 9, 10 games a week, and then I see them on social media go, well, I got to take a break from buying, I got to pay down my credit card. I'm like, so
there's
that's
your problem right there.
Yeah, you're putting it all on credit. Yeah.
Don't go into debt because you want to collect. No. I mean, everyone wants, sure, it's nice to have a big, nice, fancy collection, but like for real, like let's be responsible adults and pay attention to what's important first.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't go into debt over it. It's not.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah, it's not worth it. But all right. So anything else? You got anything else going on the next 2 weeks, Danny, that you want to let people know about?
I don't know, working from home, homeschooling my 8-year-old, doing that social distancing grind like everybody else. But as far as like my internet stuff, I don't know, normal streaming here and there on Twitch. I was really hoping that, the light side of all this would be that I would have really had some time to put towards my YouTube channel and put out a couple videos at this point. But man, I've been so busy with domestics and everything else that I've just not found any time. So I'm really hoping I can put out a video soon. So maybe look for that, but don't hold your breath at the same time.
Yeah.
So
we should have a regular show next week. We're going to try to do a Friday or Saturday. I am going back out and working in Pennsylvania, so I will be out on the road again. We're actually we're slashing in half. Some guys are coming over and taking half of our stores, so we don't have to be out as long. So I'm hoping to be home by Wednesday, so we may be able to get a show in early this next week. But
be safe. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Don't touch your face.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they're going to have us work until one of us gets sick. I know it. But,
well, here's hoping you guys can all stay safe and whatnot.
As long as it ain't me, I don't care.
Hey, whoa. Where's your sense of humanity there, man? Come on now.
I kid. That's I kid. So. All right, guys. Well, like I say, follow us on Twitter at back2bits, TO-bits. That way you can keep up with when we are going to be going live. We will try to get in another show in 2 weeks.
You know how that goes.
Yeah. That way you'll at least know 4 or 5 hours before we go live if you want to catch us live. If not, just subscribe to us on wherever you get your podcasts, any area podcatchers.